All right, welcome into another episode of Double Coverage. As always, my name's Mason, joined with Alex. As you can see, we have our first special guest on the show. Nathan, tell us a little about yourself.
All right, so my name's Nathan. Same age as these two right here. I guess I'm probably not pointing them on. I'm pointing them on my screen right here. But yeah, my name's Nathan Forlina. I've been doing some sports media now for a few years in the Altoona market in Pennsylvania. So I have a radio show right now. I'm a co-host. It's called Sports Central. It's a daily radio show, 4 to 5 every single day during the week. So I host with my man Corey Geiger. We break down all things sports across everything. And then I also am a co-host on a Blue and White wrap-up show that we do every single post-game for Penn State as well. It's Call-In, the only call-in local Penn State talk show post-game radio that we know of. And I also do a couple other things. I do some color commentary for football, high school football in the area. I worked with Penn State football on some national broadcasts this last year as well. I do some PA announcing as well. So I've been around the Central PA sports media scene for a couple of years now.
That's awesome. All right. So the first thing we're going to get into today is something we had previously talked about in a recent podcast was Notre Dame's automatic bid being a top 12 team. And I know you commented on one post that you are not opposed to it. Neither, obviously, we aren't either. But we kind of want to know your thoughts on like the general thing of just Notre Dame being handed a top 12 playoff spot.
Well, this is just classic, nepotism in college football where everything is handed to Notre Dame because of their prestige. Now, listen, I'm not going to say Notre Dame is not one of the most prestigious schools across America. They've obviously been around for a long time. You think about it, tons of national championships, a lot of greats go through there, a lot of great coaches from Newt Rockne to Lou Holt to Marcus Freeman present day. They've had a lot of great coaches. So I don't want to knock Notre Dame at all. All I'm saying is this isn't modern college football, and Notre Dame thinks they're still living in the past, where it's absolutely ridiculous that a college should be allowed to basically evade every single modern college football rule, a committee. They should be allowed to be exempt from all that, which I don't understand at all, because if you're making that case, then every single program who's in the top 12 should be in the playoffs, which number one is how it should be. I don't understand how that is not modern college football playoff landscape. I think when we get to 24, I think we're going to see some more clarity with that kind of stuff, which I'm assuming we're going to get to in the next couple of years here.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how you could sit there and say, okay, every other team, you have to follow this exact format except for Notre Dame because you got rightfully left out. I think people are sweeping under the rug the fact that they rightfully got left out. You're talking about 1A, 1B between Miami and Notre Dame, and when you looked at the criteria, there was a head-to-head game right there in which Miami. So because of all this emotional damage that Notre Dame has taken over the last 2 months because of this, they think that they should be exempt from this. They should be allowed to do whatever they want because they are Notre Dame, which I just do not think is right whatsoever. I think they should just have to follow every single format every college football team has to do in the Big Ten, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, and then every Group of 5 team. They follow the same exact format, and Notre Dame is an independent, and they think they should evade all that, which to me is just stupid. I don't understand how you can make the argument that that's all right. Again, I'm not saying that Notre Dame year in and year out is not a top 12 team. This upcoming year, I think Notre Dame's one of the best teams in the country. You think about what they have returning, C.J. Carr, bringing Quincy Porter Jr. They got a lot of great players over on that team. But to me, it shouldn't matter. You're either going to join a conference or you're going to play by the rules that everybody else has to play.
Yep. They did bring in Ohio State's whole depth at the wide receiver position of the transfer portal. But, I mean, the two biggest games on their schedule, they lose. So, and the team that got put in, I don't know if was it more Alabama or Miami that got put in over? I know it was Miami, but you know what I mean?
I think people are going to look at Miami because it
Right.
was 10-11. Or, yeah,
Okay,
right,
yeah.
10-11. That's what they're going to look at.
I mean, the team made the national championship, so
and the team had a head-to-head win as well. The team had a head-to-head. They had a better win.
Yep.
What Notre Dame quality win did they have on their roster? They had USC. I'll admit USC's a good team. Jada Mayava and Lincoln Riley out there. But they aren't Notre Dame. I mean, Miami beat them head-to-head. They have a much better win. So that's just my opinion. Miami had better wins across the board, I think, as well.
Yeah. I mean, Notre Dame, they just couldn't finish in those two games. But, I mean, it is nuts, in my opinion, letting it and just giving the automatic bid to a team that no other team has. Like if Ohio State's sitting there at 12 and Notre Dame's sitting there, whatever, Ohio State's gonna get bumped, and Notre Dame's automatically in. Though. So it's just kind of weird, but
As the committee, I don't understand how you just don't look at it and say, okay, top 12 teams get in, regardless of
yeah,
your conference. I don't understand how you don't look at that as the committee. That to me is just
right,
stupid.
yeah,
That's a big miss. Maybe you say, hey, one group of 5 team gets in, so we have representation. You never know what's going to happen between Tulane, James Madison, all these teams like that. But outside that, it should be the top 12. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts. And you should be ranked where you are. To me, that's a simple solution. You get the top 12 team, the 12 best teams in the country, unless you want to squeak in a group of 5 team, which, to me, if you're a group of 5 team, you're not in the top 12, you're not competing for a national championship.
right. Now, like in a sense, I do kind of understand that because they had Notre Dame over Miami for the longest time, and then all of a sudden it just flips. Which obviously, like we said, we agree with it. I mean, Miami. If you're not gonna put Miami in, why play the head to head? So that's kind of like Alabama is on the verge of canceling their head to head matchups with Ohio State the next 2 years. We know why that is, maybe just because they don't want to play Ohio State, or that they're just going to get that used against them now if they do
Well,
lose.
well, the committee would have set a precedent if they left out if they left out Miami back in the beginning of December. They would have set the precedent that don't schedule hard games because even if you win them,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So like Texas
Yep.
right now, Texas this past year was 9-3 looking in. They also can look at that and say, okay, because of the record, if they were 10-2, they would have easily probably been 8th, 9th, 10th seed in the playoffs as well. So it's the tough conflict of, and I think in the Miami case, it proved that scheduling a tough game does work to your benefit because if you are 10-2 and Notre Dame's also 10-2, Notre Dame's going to get in over you at Miami if they didn't play head to head last year. But because they played a head to head, there's a clear path for Miami to get in over Notre Dame. Hence, enforcing that tough scheduling is probably a good thing. But if you are a bubble team and you lose one of these big games, it also hurts, like Texas this last year. So it's really, for these athletic directors and schools, it's going to be really tough to determine if you want to schedule Alabama, Ohio State, because if you lose that game, that could bite you in the butt at the end of the season. So
Yep.
it's a really tough predicament where I'm always saying, and this is the thing, as Penn State fan, James Franklin, a lot of people aren't going to like the non-conference schedule they schedule and stuff like that, where they play basically cupcakes the entire time. While I don't think it ramps them up for the season, it also avoids them getting maybe a loss that's going to penalize them down the road. That's just my opinion on that.
Yeah. No, I forget if it was Joel Klatt or Kirk Herbstreit talked about giving the group of 5 their own playoff rather than putting them in here. You know what I mean? Giving them their own playoff, kind of like it's not in a sense it's like an FBS, FCS, like Power
Mm-hmm.
5, Group of 5. Like there's no Group of 5 team that's ever gonna compete in the with these Power 5 teams, in my opinion, Power 4 teams. So I kind of agree with giving them their own little tournament, whatever, or else this is just going to turn into a March Madness soon. So having to,
Giving them their own tournament's interesting because, listen, I think there are teams that would have competed in the past, to group of 5 teams. Think about 2017 UCF. They had a lot of talent on that team. Could they have maybe beat one team? Yes. Do I think a group of 5 team will ever win a national championship? No, I do not think that. But could you get, a team like maybe Boise State last year where they had Ashton Genty and they would have caught fire? You think about those Boise State teams in the late 2000s, Fiesta Bowl win over Oklahoma, those types of teams. They might win a game or two, but I don't think, because in the playoffs, you have to stretch together. If you're a group of 5 team, you're going to have to stretch because you're not getting a bye. You would have to stretch together 4 straight wins against really, really tough teams. You might be going on the road in some of those as well, which is going to be really, really difficult. So I don't know if they can win 4 in a row, but do I think they can win one? Yeah, I think they could seemingly win one. So I don't know if they need their separate playoffs, because then I think you completely tarnish what a group of 5. I mean, there's clearly the power conferences and the non-power conferences at that point. It's not college football. It's 2 separate entities. You have the Power 4 and the Group of 5.
yeah, yeah, it's a tough subject for sure. I mean, there's so many things that I don't know they could do. Maybe they do now that are wrong, but then obviously you're not making everyone happy with whatever you do. So
No,
there's some people are going to find issues with everything. So kind of going to the playoffs. Now, I see me personally, if they just switch up a couple rules, I like the 12-team playoffs. I think it gets in enough teams. I feel like I like it more than just 4 teams because then the 4 teams that got in are really just the conference champions every year, rather than giving teams like who Ohio State won it at the 8 seed last year. I mean, obviously Indiana won at the 1 seed, but this Indiana team was ridiculous this year.
but
But
Miami
what are
playing in
your
the national
thoughts?
championship. Miami
Yeah,
playing in the national
Miami.
championship wouldn't
Yep.
have been a thought for a
Yeah.
two-team playoff.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on now? Like, do you think if they did move them, you think they should go back down to 8, or you think they should move it up more, or maybe lower than?
I think 16's the perfect amount. I think that might
Mm-hmm.
even be too much. 8 to me also sounds really good because I think you're getting the best quality in, and you still value regular season games. Not saying regular season games aren't valued right now, but there might be you can lose 2 games and you can get in right now, which might and if you get to 16, then you can lose 3 games. So you're talking about 75% or 25% of your schedule you can lose right there. I don't know. Does that tarnish the regular season for SEC because all of a sudden Alabama Georgia doesn't mean as much because regardless they're both going to get in if they have more than 9 wins. So that's a tough spot right there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to 8, you're probably going to get one loss teams still looking out. And, you think about if you would have had a one loss Big 12 team, a one loss Big 10 team that maybe doesn't play the greatest schedule, but they end up getting to the conference championship and then losing there. That could hinder that as well. So I'm not exactly sure what the perfect amount is. This past year, I thought 16 would have been great because you would have got Texas in, which I think Texas was a top 12 team in the country. They
Mm-hmm.
played an extremely difficult schedule. I mean, you
Yep.
can't lose to Florida. You can't lose to Florida and DJ
Right.
Lagway and
Right.
Billy
Yeah.
Napier going out there.
Mhm.
But outside that, they had really good quality wins as well. So
Who who
that's tough.
was it? Kentucky took them to overtime too, right? I think it
Kentucky
was
took it
Kentucky.
overtime. Yep, they
Okay.
squeaked
Yeah.
it out though. So I
And
mean,
then they almost. Yeah. Yeah. But I kind of think it should go to. I mean, don't get me wrong. The buys are like as much as they seem to don't work. I mean, that's a whole game you don't have to play. But I think I don't know. I've that whole month off clearly does something to these teams where they don't come out hot. They don't come out whatever. So if you do move it, like just give them an extra home game instead of having a bye. Give them a home game in the first round, a home game in the second round, and then move to the bowl games. But then it seems 12 teams are kind of getting dragged out really long now. Like next year's national championship is on January 25th, and the semifinals games are on January 14th and 15th. That seems a little bit too dragged out to me. But I mean, if you keep adding more teams and adding more teams, it's going to get longer. Now, I don't mind it. I love college football. Like I could watch college football all year. But like to a lot of people, I feel like it'd just be really dragged out. But I don't know. I personally think they should either go to. I like the idea of 16 team playoff, but obviously I have a feeling they're gonna end up skipping 16 and going straight to like the big numbers. I'm not 100% sure.
yeah, and you mentioned a little bit right there the schedule of it being so late next year. That is a big problem with college football. And it's
Yeah.
not maybe because it's not coaches they all the issue is just the college football schedule between the transfer portal, signing, recruiting day, all this kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
all lumped in while the college football playoffs is going on. So you either have to move that back, which you can't do that because that's enrollments at schools. You're not going to be able to fight that battle uphill. So that's not going to be able to happen. But does that mean I don't want to say it, but Army and Navy, do you maybe move the first round playoffs games to that weekend as well? That would be the number one solution, in my opinion. Is you don't take, or do you even get rid of conference championships and you start at that weekend before as well? So then you're rolling straight. And you could probably get this thing done by the first week of January. I know a lot of people talk about moving the actual college football schedule up a week as well, like week 0 is week 1 now, all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if you necessarily need to do that, but if you can move stuff up and because I'm not a big fan of conference championships. I think they don't mean a ton. I think they actually hurt a lot of teams, but I don't know. This is why we need a commissioner. We need someone at the head, whether it's Nick Saban or someone who actually knows the college football landscape the best, to be able to put things in place and make it make sense because it's not making sense at all right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are wrong. Well, I mean, going back to the conference championship, I feel like it hurts everybody if unless you're an SEC school. Obviously, we've seen in Bama 9-3, but I mean, it is tough to keep a team that lost in a conference championship out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they lost, I feel like losing a conference championship and the way you lose a conference championship are like kind of two different things that you look at. Like I don't know if I would have preferred Notre Dame in over Bama, but obviously, like I said, you can't punish a team for losing a conference championship. But I don't know. But
You
I
set the
mean,
you set the precedent when you do that. You set the precedent that these teams
yeah,
shouldn't even play a conference championship game because if they get left out, all of a sudden they're sitting there on the couch thinking, if we just don't even show up to that game, the committee can't judge us on anything. And next thing you know, we're going to get in with a win because we have one less loss. You saw it this year with Alabama. You saw it last year with SMU. They don't want to punish teams for playing an extra game, which they shouldn't. They should not at all. So, in my opinion, the only solution to get rid of that is just get rid of the game in general.
Yeah. Like if Michigan, if they would have beat Ohio State and then had to go play Indiana in the Big Ten championship and lost, there's three losses right there. So, and like Alabama wasn't as much of a team that's like they have to win to stay in. Like where Michigan would have been like what 12, 13 looking in that Big Ten championship game, and if they lose that, like who knows if they put them in there or not. But I don't know. It's just I agree having to move things up, maybe getting rid of the conference championship game. I definitely think that the playoffs should start the week after the conference championship game
Mm-hmm.
rather than giving a 2 week break. But
Well, the way
I
you
don't
could do
know.
that is move maybe Army Navy to a Thursday or Friday night, and then
Hmm.
Saturday is just all college football, or even Friday afternoon. Now I know they wouldn't want to do it, but Friday afternoon for Navy, Army. Then that night is the first playoff game. Then you have the Saturday slate. That could be a solution right there. And again, you get rid of almost 2 weeks of dead time right there.
Yeah, and then the problem this year with next year with the schedule is that you have these games on the 14th and 15th. That's now interfering with the NFL wild card first round of the NFL playoffs. So which so one of them's going to lose a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, they're both going to be watched, but like college football is going to lose a lot of money with people watching NFL. NFL is going to lose a lot of money people watching college football. So I don't. It's a tough thing to talk about for sure because I'm personally like I'm not sure like what they should do, but I don't really know. There's many things that they could do, but
I mean, if you're like Roger Goodell, you're looking into this and saying like, I'm worried that we may lose money and revenue from overlapping these games. So at this point, I think it's not even just like a what the fans think. It's like as the whole NFL, like the commissioner, I think you need to understand like if there's an overlap between these games, someone's losing money, regardless if that's you or the college football committee. So like they need to come together and discuss this and see what they can do because obviously, like I said, someone's losing money and I don't think either of those two committees would want to lose the money that they would. So, and another thing is like if you add more teams to the college playoffs, I feel like then that would we wouldn't have a situation like what we did with Notre Dame this year or like the controversy that we talked about with like maybe Alabama or something like that. If you include more teams, then that allows, even if you do lose in the conference championship, you would most likely then also get in, and that game wouldn't necessarily make or break your, you know, after season and like see what you can do. I think, and also like I know Mason brought up about comparing it to March Madness and college basketball, like you'll see, the lower seeded teams in March Madness that may go on like a Cinderella run, and obviously no one's expecting them to make it to the championship, but it's still interesting to see these teams. So I think if they incorporate something similar to that for the college football playoffs, I think it would be more engaging and more thrilling, maybe rooting for like an underdog because if there's only 12 teams, obviously they're the best 12 teams in the nation. So there's not always like a really clear underdog because sometimes, the teams are very close in skill. But if you include more teams, then you may get a like underdog story. I think that would engage more viewers and like I said, you could see these Cinderella runs that yeah, these teams may not win, but the fact that they have the opportunity to beat these high level teams would be I just think it'd be a lot more thrilling for the fans.
in the NIL era we're in now, anything's possible.
Yeah, that's
So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, all you need is one of these small schools to spend a ton of money on their roster, and all of a sudden they're competing like a Power Four team. You saw the thing about Mr. Beast this past week where he said about dumping $100 million into ECU. If that happened, all of a sudden ECU's a powerhouse in the Sun
right.
Belt, I think they're in, or something like that.
Yep.
I mean, yes, you could have the Cinderella runs. The problem is with football, and this is the difference between football and basketball, is the physicality at the line of scrimmage is so prevalent between Power 4 and Group of 5 football. If you threw, or like we saw a perfect example, Oregon and James Madison. James Madison had athletes, Alonzo Barnett. They had some guys on that team that were pretty good players, but the issue was that at the line of scrimmage, Oregon was just going to dominate them, whether that was in the run game, whether that was more protection for Dante Moore. And I'm afraid that's going to be kind of the trend across every single Power 4 versus Group of 5 team. But maybe there's that one exception, like Arizona State last year, although they're not a Power 4 team, they were a significant underdog to Texas in that, boy, what was that? Cotton Bowl, Peach Bowl, whatever it was, whatever that bowl game was. They almost win and knock that team off because they had great players, they had great athletes, even though they weren't better at the line of scrimmage. So that's the only way you get an upset like that is if you have insane athletes, if you have, a Chris Johnson at ECU whenever he was down there, where he could just burn by an entire. You're talking about first round talent at these smaller schools is what you're going to need. And you're going to need to hope everything lines up in that the Power 4 team does not play their best game that day.
Yeah, I feel like the way this college football world's going is that we're going to see more like top tier guys start committing to these Group of 5 schools. Should try to get them to where they want to go, because I know a lot of these athletes want to be the guy, and they know that if they go to these Group of 5 teams, they're going to be the dude that gets them wherever they want to be. But like I said, in the NIL world, anything's possible. So
anything's possible in college football. I'm not doubting anything. That's what I learned.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's really all we had for that little section. Now we're going to do something a little fun, I guess. We're going to, with the schedules coming out recently, we're gonna predict these Penn State and Ohio State football schedules for this year. We'll start with, who do we want to start? Here, we'll start with Ohio State since you two are both Penn State fans. So I got Ohio State schedule right here. Ooh, week 1, starting with a banger at home against Ball State. So I'm gonna have to take Ohio State on that one. It's a tough one. Now week 2 at Texas. So I truthfully, Ohio State could have 3 losses this year, 3 to 4 losses this year. But if the main problem in my opinion is going to be whether or not these transfers that came in on defense, because there were some heavy shoes to fill on this Ohio State's defensive roster. Like with Caleb Downs leaving, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Cade McDonald, all these there's 5 first-round draft picks on the defensive side, but they brought in a lot. Now, I don't know. Like, this is tough. Cam Coleman going to Texas. Obviously, Arch Manning is going to be a better quarterback next year, I think. But
I think we're going to see a revenge tour.
yeah, I don't know. I don't personally like Arch Manning, but that's just me. But I think he'll definitely be better now that he has a guy in Cam Coleman. But I don't know.
And it's in Texas,
it's
too.
at Texas.
Me
personally,
that's the key.
Yeah,
in Austin. That's the key right there. Can you go in Ohio State? Can you deal with the humidity down there? There's elements down there where Texas coming up to Ohio State last year really didn't matter. But it's a lot tougher to play in 100-degree weather at that time. So that's tough. I do lean toward Ohio State though.
So do I. I'm trying to be as least biased as possible, but I do believe that Ohio State will go into Austin and beat Texas.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
it's going to be early. Arch Manning's still going to try and click with that new wide receiver core. Where Ohio State has Jeremiah Smith. Anything's possible.
Exactly.
Week 3 at home against Kent State. Obviously, that's a win. So there's 3. So week 4 at home against Illinois. Dub. I think it's a dub. 4-0.
Dub.
Would you agree? Yeah.
Week 5. I like Caton Howe. I like Caton Howe as a transfer. They brought in a quarterback, but they're just not talented.
So week 5, obviously, Ohio State has problems playing at this in Kinnick Stadium. The last time they played at Iowa, they lost 55-24. Do I think this Iowa team is anywhere near what that Iowa team was last time? No, not at all. But obviously their offense, they're starting to get an offense. What's his name? Is he still quarterback in there?
No, Gronowski's out to the NFL. So no,
okay.
No Gronowski.
Okay, so I'm obviously gonna take Ohio State here regardless, but it's like I said, anything's possible in Kinnick Stadium. You can Oregon almost lost there last year. Obviously, Penn State lost there last year. Indiana almost lost there last year. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take Ohio State. Week 6 at home against Maryland.
Dub.
I'm gonna take Ohio State. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right.
Maryland, Mike Locksley ain't doing anything out there.
October 17th at Indiana. I think Indiana's gonna have, if not a better team next year than what they did this year. They have so much. They brought in a decent bit last year. And now, obviously, the question is the quarterback. But obviously, Fernando Mendoza was questionable last year. But we've seen what that turned into. I really truly think Ohio State doesn't win this game in Indiana because, but obviously, depending on how Indiana does up to that point. But if they're both undefeated going into that game,
It's gonna be a shootout.
I don't know.
Yeah, man, Josh Hoover, he's good for the He's gonna be good for the Hoosiers. I have a feeling. They brought in a running back too. I cannot remember where maybe Boston College. I want to say.
Probably Bedford back.
Can't remember. Yeah, there's some good there's some talent on Indiana, but
They brought in another wide receiver too. I forget who it was.
They brought in Nick Marsh, I think, out of
Yes, Nick Marsh, Michigan State.
State.
Michigan State. Yes, he's good.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Kurt Signet's a great coach, but I don't know. I think it's 50-50 really, but I don't know. I would probably go with Indiana. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know. They're gonna be on such a high coming off of that national championship next year. This game is going. This might be one of the biggest games ever at Bloomington. Like in the history of Indiana football. This might be the biggest game ever.
Give me Ohio State in that one. I think Ohio State
wins
that.
it.
You need a rebound. Indiana
Mhm.
needs a reality check because this is how it's just good. These are the ebbs and flows. We saw in college football, college basketball this past week with Arizona, where they were off to a perfect start and they dropped 2 games in 1 week.
Yep.
You just cannot remain perfect for years and years on end. Georgia was the only team in recent memory to do that, and that was a really pre-NIL era. So I do think at some point a game will slip here, and I just don't think Indiana's defense is going to be as good next year. That's the issue, the defense, I think.
Yeah. So you have them at 6-0 then. I'd say 5-1.
I would also say 5-1.
Okay.
That's fair. That's also completely fair.
Yeah.
I completely get that.
So, then they have a bye, which that bye is huge because they play at USC the next week. So I feel like if they would have played if they beat Indiana, they're on a high, and boom, next week you're playing at USC.
Mhm.
Like I feel like that's tough. You know what I mean? But thankfully that bye is in between there. So you're not, but I think they'll beat USC. It's going to be, obviously, Jordan Mailata is going to be very good. Who's, obviously, Mekhi Lemon's going to the draft. Oh my gosh. Dude, why am I drawing blanks? Who's their other dude? Jacoby Lane.
Jacoby Lane.
Is he back or is he? I think he is.
I believe he's back, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But obviously, that's going to be a very offensive heavy team. So if Ohio State can just keep their offense in check, I see no problem. But and then week I think it was week 7, maybe week 8, 7 or 8 at home against Oregon. Oregon's gonna be good, I think, but
It's at home though.
It is at home.
It's at home though.
I
got Ohio State.
Everything
here.
in me wants to say Ohio State here.
I got them here.
I don't know. I think Oregon's gonna be really good. This one's 50-50 to me.
I think if you don't win at Indiana, you'll win here and vice versa. You're gonna drop one of those two games.
That's exactly the point I was gonna make right there. So I'm gonna take an Oregon loss at home. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that. But obviously, I'm gonna have to go with a win here. So
yeah, regardless, at this point, you'll have one loss at least.
Yeah. And then Northwestern, I'm gonna have to go with a win there.
Okay.
And then play at Nebraska. Obviously, that Nebraska is not gonna be very good next year, considering Raiola is gone. They don't have a ton next year, but I think
this is gonna be their quarterback. I'm not a fan of their quarterback. Trying to remember his name now. Can't remember. TJ Leaf or something like that.
Okay.
Not a fan.
I think it's gonna be a really down year for Nebraska. So obviously I'll go the Ohio State win, and then at home against the team up north. I promised that if Ryan Day were to win last year, obviously he did, but if he were to beat Michigan last year, I don't think he loses to Michigan for the next 5-6 years. So I think having that win against them finally, you're coming back into the shoe against them. I think they'll beat the team up north in that last game.
In my opinion, at this point, Michigan is playing for a playoff spot,
Yeah.
and I love Kyle Whittingham. I think he
Mm-hmm.
knows how to coach. Another year with Bryce Underwood at this point. Man, give me Michigan in that game. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but I think they're just playing for a spot at that point, which I think matters so much.
Now
So
there's a lot of locker room drama going down right now, but with them, I don't know if you've seen
I
their
have not
players
seen
Underwood and them guys getting in trouble for smoking some joints in the locker room. So, but I Kyle Whittingham's already losing the locker room. I love it.
it's early. It's early in the Whittingham and again, that's a team that's going to be too tough to predict right now. I just think they had a lot of talent on that team between the recruiting and some of the transfers they brought in. They brought in some guys from Utah. They took basically all of Utah's best players that aren't NFL draft eligible,
Yeah,
except Devin Dampier. So I like Michigan this year. I think it could be interesting.
yeah. It's I mean it's the game. Anything can happen really.
Yeah,
But all right. Well, I have them at it would have been 11-1. Uh, I think we all had 11. You had 10-2.
10-2. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the whole Michigan game, you can never. We talk about this all the time. Oh, Michigan, Ohio State, you can never for sure
Best rivalry.
say what's gonna. Yeah, so that last game for me is a toss up.
I just don't think, especially after last year, there's no way Ryan Day loses this game at home this year.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
a couple
also yeah.
maybe a couple years, but I just don't think there's no way that he loses this in his own stadium this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Nathan said. Michigan probably at this point obviously is fighting for a playoff spot. With that being said, they still most likely won't end up taking it. I feel like I agree. I think Ohio State's taking this one, but it definitely is going to be a very competitive game.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see Ohio State like clearly win this one. This could be a coming down to the wire thing, like a Indiana Penn State game we saw this past year with one of the best catch. That I mean, I can't get over how crazy that catch was at the beginning of the game. But yeah, I'm probably going to take Ohio State in this one. But I do think it will be a very, very good game to watch.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, there's just no way in I mean, obviously as a Ohio State fan, I have to like there's just no way that Ryan Day loses this game after losing it last time at home, being a 22.5 point favorite. Yeah, I don't think there's no way that Ohio State loses that game against Michigan Week 13. But
Okay. Sorry, something popped up, but I got a call. But I just worry about in his head. That's all I worry about with Brian Day because I'm afraid that he got the monkey off the back just winning the game. Now you got to do it at your stadium, in which who knows what's going to happen. Who knows?
especially with a new play caller, Arthur Smith. Here's so last year, obviously, I was completely wrong. I said if Ohio State turns this in to which team can run the ball more efficiently, Ohio State will lose. Obviously, that they proved me wrong because now the reason they did prove me wrong is because they were able to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
When you're able to throw the ball, you can run the ball. But I said, but like if it's every year, if Ohio State ends up having to rely on the run, they're not going to beat Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be able to throw the ball. So yeah, so you have 10-2, I have 11-1. Alex also has 11-1.
Yep.
Has a Ohio State schedule, all right? Moving on to the Penn State Cyclones.
Listen, this is all I got to say. Looking at the schedule, it looks great. It looks absolutely great. Now, with that being said, Penn State is probably still going to lose a game or two.
Oh, yeah.
But
maybe
to run through the first three games, Marshall, Temple, and Buffalo, I feel like we can group those as 3 dubs.
Yeah,
Can we agree?
It's not getting crazy. No,
Yeah.
three easy wins.
Unless Jalen Hurts comes out for Temple, but they still might lose that game with him.
I
Hey,
can't.
they got Jackson Smolik, I think, over there. Former Penn State guy
Yeah.
just transferred over, so you never know. You might know this.
Yeah,
Nah.
it's gonna be
3-0,
so
3-0.
weird. This is like the going to Philadelphia to play Temple is like who was it? Missouri went to UMass last year.
Yeah.
It's so random. But
Mhm.
obviously, I think we can all agree on the start 3-0,
Yeah.
really 4-0 because Wisconsin is not going to be anything again.
Yeah.
Is this at Camp Randall?
No, it's at Beaver Stadium.
I give him Wisconsin or give him Penn State. Never mind.
Yeah.
And then Friday, October 2nd. This is at Northwestern. This is going to be at their new stadium. Northwestern's first game at their new stadium. Now, obviously, I would still lean Penn State, but it's going to be cool for sure.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Now, obviously, they lost to Northwestern at home last year.
Mhm.
That was a game Rattler went out for the season, but
We
I
also
don't know.
lost to UCLA, so I feel like we can't really compare the seasons. Listen, realistically, I mean, 5-0 going in at this point. I agree. It will be cool playing in the new stadium, but that's not gonna. I don't think that's gonna affect much. I think Penn State takes this. I think we're gonna have a good year. I mean, moving on to the next game, the Trojans. I guess I don't know. I mean, maybe that could be something. I'm trying not to be biased, but I think that's another dub for us.
I also believe
Realistically.
that this Penn State team is going to just be so much more determined this year,
Yeah.
especially after having a season like they did last year, for sure. But
It's at home against USC. That's
Yep.
the difference right there. It'll probably be the
Yes.
whiteout game as well. I think that this is. I mean, if Matt Campbell doesn't win this game, and listen, this is the problem with Penn State fans. They might have unrealistic expectations at times, but this is a game you have to win. Again, will
Yes.
probably be the whiteout, the premier game. You'll have 5 games to ramp up at this point. I think you should get the job here, just because I think USC is going to be a little too young. They got a lot of great recruits coming in. I just think they're a little too young.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they're going to start out 6-0 at this point. And then moving on to October 17th at Michigan, I think this is where they take their first loss. Now, I hate being on the like
Supporting. You don't want to support
I don't want to support Michigan at all, but like I don't know. I think this is where Penn State takes their first loss at Michigan, just because it's in the big house.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Rocco Beck's not the greatest quarterback, but obviously, yeah, I don't. It's like I don't know because like
Could be a toss up.
like Penn
Don't
State's whole
overthink it.
team.
This is a Michigan win.
Yeah,
This is a Michigan
Penn
win.
State's whole. Yeah, I know that. I agree. Like, just Penn State's whole team is just so different this year.
That's what I was saying. Like, you can't. It's hard to compare this past season to this coming season because of the difference that you're going to see on like all levels.
Now, obviously, I haven't been paying a crazy amount of attention to Penn State this offseason, but like their defense, has it gotten better maybe, or is it going to be a little down from last year? Because obviously the defense last year was good, except the offense put them on the field too much.
Mhm.
So,
in my opinion, the defense is worse. I mean, when you're losing denied Dennis Sutton,
Yeah.
you lose Amari Campbell in the transfer portal. You lose a
Mhm.
lot of your secondary as well. Now, I like some of the guys they brought in. Jeremiah Cooper, he tore his ACL at Iowa State last year, but I think he is one of the better safeties, secondary players in the country. So I think he's going to make a huge difference. They will have Tony Rojas back as well. It's going to be a massive, massive deal. I think the defense is worse off this year. I think anybody with a brain would probably say that right now.
Yes, but now I know he didn't play as much last year, but is LeVar Arrington going to get a lot of snaps this year? Like, is he going to be the guy, or is he gonna? Is there like, I don't know. I was kind of surprised. I'm not surprised, but like I thought he was going to end up playing a lot more last year than what he did because he like hardly played at all. I mean, I know obviously they lost Chaz Coleman too, which he was going to be pretty good for him, but I don't know. Yeah, but,
A lot of the younger guys played a lot better because they got a lot more playing time as the season went on. After everything went off the rails, players checked out. Looking at you, Chaz Coleman. So some of these other players got some, some nice time to shine. They looked pretty good, but yeah, I don't think you can compare these to the denied Dennis Suttons, to the Abdul Carters of the past, Mike Parson. You can't compare these guys to it. I'm
yeah,
not
for
going to
sure.
put that pressure on LeVar Arrington quite yet.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think this is their first loss this season, and then they go into a bye, and then Halloween they're playing at home against Purdue. It's a win.
Don't
I
really
think
have to
Purdue,
even talk about that
Purdue,
one much.
Purdue has just been going down and down each year.
I can usually give you a scouting breakdown on all these teams. Besides
Yeah.
Jarrett Gibson, I can't tell you a single player on Purdue. So
Yeah. Yep. Um, and then November 7th at Washington. Obviously, I've with Damon Williams coming back, I kind of feel like that's going to be a little shaky at first, considering that I don't know he was transferring, and then all of a sudden he came back. But I think it'll be a little shaky at first. I think Washington will be a solid team going into this, but I think Penn State takes this one at Husky Stadium. Assume maybe now if it's a night game, maybe at Husky Stadium it's a little different, but I don't know. If it's just a 3:30 game, I think I got Penn State, but
I agree. And realistically, looking at the rest of the schedule, I think we could probably group it together. I mean, Minnesota, Rutgers, and Maryland. I don't know if I'm being crazy, but I think we come off the bye and we take all the rest of our games.
Do you think anything different about that game at Washington?
I do. I think Washington wins that game. Actually,
Okay.
I don't think Penn State's
See,
able.
yeah. I
Penn
Go
State has
ahead.
trouble going cross country. We've seen in the couple
Yep.
games they played over last year. The USC game came
UCLA.
right down to the wire, and then last year they lose that game at UCLA. In Washington, I don't think people realize how good Damon Williams is. I've been a Damon Williams guy
Mhm.
since the bowl game his freshman year, in which he put up I think 5 touchdowns and a loss.
Mhm.
He is such a good player, and even though he has all that stuff going on outside of the locker room, I don't think that's going to factor in at all. I think Jed Fish, I think they're going to be able to figure things out, right the ship. I think Washington is a sneaky, sneaky team this year.
Yeah,
But it
for
does
sure.
suck. It's big they're losing Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman in the draft because
Yep.
those are two premier players. That could be an issue right there. But outside of that, Washington, I think, could be a sneaky team, and I don't think Penn State's going to be able to go to Husky Stadium and beat them right there.
Yeah, see, now, like I'm really hoping Penn State loses every game this year, but
Okay.
So I got my 10. I got my 10. I got 10.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's so weird looking at this and not seeing Ohio State though.
Yeah,
I will say that.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean,
you only get one between Michigan and Ohio State.
now see, Ohio State drops Penn State and picks up Indiana and Oregon, so I don't see a point in that. But I guess here we are. But I don't.
Big Ten, modern
Now,
Big Ten.
Now their Ohio State schedule will set them up. It should set them up very nicely for the playoffs.
If they execute,
having played these teams, yeah, obviously if you win at least 2 of them, but I think it sets them up very well. But obviously, dude, that I'm telling you, that Ohio State, whoever wins that Michigan Ohio State game, you're coming off such a high from winning that game. It's like I don't know. I now don't get me wrong, Miami outplayed Ohio State in almost every single aspect of the game in that Cotton Bowl, but I just think Ohio State was just so hungover after beating Michigan finally for the first time in 6 years. So, but I don't know. But overall, I mean, Penn State, you have them at 10-2. I mean, I don't know. I hate sitting here saying Penn State's going to go 11-1 after the season they just had.
I'm gonna be hopeful and say 11-1, but
I don't know.
Realistically, yeah, I mean they could drop that game to Washington. But like I said, I guess I'm gonna be hopeful and say 11-1. But if they do go 10-2, I will not be surprised. But if they go anything under 10-2, if it's 9-3 or worse, I think it's a disappointing season. I mean, we have to bounce back after the season we just had. Yeah, 2 games we could drop, but realistically, there shouldn't be any other reason why we don't only lose 2 games.
And I'm gonna have to agree with. I think I'm gonna have to agree with Nathan on that Washington. I think I do. I've thought about it. I think Penn State will lose that game to Washington because I also do like Damon Williams. So, but yeah, I would have to agree that 10-2 would definitely be a more like.
There's 4 games on the schedule that could trip them up. You got the USC game. You got Washington, Michigan, obviously. And don't sleep on Northwestern this year. That sounds crazy to say, but Aiden Childs transfers down there. It's Friday night. Weird things could happen. New stadium. Just weird things could happen that night. But outside that, I think they're pretty much fine.
Yeah. So 11-1. Alex has them, and we have them at 10-2. But which is a very good turnaround from last year.
Yeah.
100%. Bringing in Dan
One bit.
Campbell. I like that move for sure. Dan Campbell. He's a good coach. I think he's gonna bring a lot to them. But I also said that I think James Franklin wins an ACC championship within the next 3 years at Virginia Tech. So, but we'll see.
You're crazy for that, bro.
I think he does.
D1 Penn State hater, right
Because
here.
I don't know, the competition down there is nowhere near what it is the Big Ten. Like ACC, I think the ACC is a perfect conference for James Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know.
The ACC's weak, but it's top heavy, so you got to be able to knock off the Miamis, the Clemsons, the SMUs. Don't sleep on SMU ever. They got the money, so
yeah. I mean, and once Dabo Sweeney starts hitting the transfer portal, and they'll be right back to where they have always been.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so stubborn.
Never know.
Yeah, for sure. But that kind of wraps up the college football portion of this. We're going to transition in the NBA. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go. It's completely
honest,
up to you.
I don't know as much about the NBA.
Okay, well, listen.
The white flag. You guys know a little more than me, but
yeah. Well, listen. I mean, it's probably gonna be pretty brief. We just wanted to touch on the All-Star games and all that stuff. My opinion is obviously Mason and I talked about this. The dunk contest was so disappointing. 4 players that, quite honestly, we didn't know. I mean, we knew Jackson Hayes from the Lakers. I knew a little bit about Carter Bryant from the Spurs, but it's just people we don't know, which is okay. Like, it's cool to get some rookies or people who aren't playing as much, some screen time, but it comes the thing with the dunk contest is it gets to a point where we've seen almost everything, so it's hard to come up with different dunks and whatever. And I don't know, it was slightly disappointing to watch. The 3-point contest was awesome. Obviously, Damian Lillard won that. I was happy for him. Devin Booker, low-key should have won, but he sold. He missed his. He was on fire, and then on his money rack, he missed his last 3 shots that lost him it. But overall, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but like with the whole All-Star game being there's a world team and multiple USA teams, like I think it's creative, it's cool, but I think the All-Star game is just slowly like gone downhill in popularity and people and viewers just because it's not what it is anymore. You don't got, I know you said about you don't got people chucking half quarters and doing crazy dunks and whatever. But
did you say you were waving the white flag on basketball on the NBA?
I mean, this is brief enough where I can touch on it. If we're getting into in-depth conversations, I don't know.
It's just I don't know. Like I said, the NBA, like watching it this year makes me kind of miss them shooting half court shots and doing crazy dunks every year. But then obviously what comes with that is the no defense.
Yeah.
So and then there's not really much of an all-star. I mean, it's an all-star game, but like you got to compete. But like where you put when you put like when you put countries together. Like United States, like they want to beat the world. Like the world actually wants to beat United States, so it's more competitive. Now, for the first 7 minutes of the quarter, is it as competitive? Not really, but
not until it gets closer.
It's more than what you'll get out of a normal NBA All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like I said before earlier in the podcast, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
There's nothing will make everybody happy. So, I mean.
Well, the one thing I wanted to touch on was I don't know if you saw how Victor Wembanyama played, but that dude went out and played like it was a regular game. I mean, he was out there backboard blocking people. Like when he lost, he was mad. Like he cared about it, and he really truly wanted to win and compete. So I think we just need more people to look at it how he does in a matter of like this really does matter, and this is another game that we're trying to go out and win and compete for.
Mhm.
Because obviously, I mean, and then you have people like Kawhi, who in the one game, well, the game against the World, he dropped 31 points in 12 minutes. Like that's crazy. So he's obviously out there hustling, working his butt off. But I just think some players don't care as much about it, and I think as viewers and as fans of the sport, we just want there to be more emphasis on like it's another game and like because if people buy tickets to go to an all-star game, they want to see the best players in the world compete and actually play and not just like mess around and like not care if they win or not. So I don't know. The all-star break has kind of over the past few years kind of disappointed me in a matter of how engaged I was and how interested I actually was in what they were doing. But yeah, we'll have to see what they do next year with everything and what they can do to try to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you watch much of the All-Star game, All-Star weekend?
Yeah, so first of all, I'll say the dunk contest was the worst dunk contest of all time. It was absolutely horrible. So they got to refine that. I think the issues with the NBA, they don't give they don't give prizes. I think that's big issues. You have to make it money incentive for people to even care about it, because then maybe at that case you would get some players actually going
Yeah,
out.
because no one ever wants to do it. That's why we're getting
Exactly.
these no-name guys because no one ever wants to. That's why they had to bring in a Mac McClung from the G League to come do it because nobody wants to do it. So
I
yeah,
think
I
what they should do is they should just actually find like professional dunkers or people that do this 24/7 and bring them out. Then it because we'd see more creative things. Like there's some of these people online that just do insane dunks. Bring four of them out for the All-Star break and have them do the dunk contest, and I think you got your solution right there because people are going to be their jaws are going to be on the floor compared to what we watched this last Saturday.
yeah. No, see, Reggie Miller said about substituting out the dunk contest. I don't really know if you substitute it out
Nope.
because dunks are cool. Like if you get the right people and you get the right dunks, that's awesome to watch. Now, I do like his idea, Reggie Miller's idea of adding a 1v1 tournament. I feel like just the engagement to that would be elite. Watching the two best, like I don't know, Wembanyama versus Jokic in a 1v1 tournament. Not saying that
Do you think the
Jokic
players
would.
would care though? Do you think the players would care? That'd
No,
be the
that's why
biggest
I'm like,
If there's a money incentive, like
yes,
you said, if you put a money incentive instead of giving them a trophy that no one really cares that much about, if you put money into it and say the winner of this gets, I don't know, like $100,000, or like the winner gets 50,000 and the other 50,000 goes to the charity of their choice, like I think that would then be more engaging and the players would care more and want to.
if you tell Nikola Jokic that if he wins, his horses get $1 million and whatever, he would win that thing. He would beat everyone 11-0. So
That's the issue. You got to find the right amount of money because 100 grand
yes,
is not gonna for these
yeah,
people. They will not risk their body and their health for 100
hmm
grand.
like they don't even
I don't
risk
even
it
think
for.
from go.
Go ahead.
Uh,
I said they won't even risk it for the All Star game, let
no,
alone a 1v1 tournament.
like I don't even think $1 million would be enough for some of these people. For some of these people who don't aren't on these super max
Yeah,
contracts,
yeah,
they would be trying for $1 million. But I mean, if you're talking to Cole Jokic, those types of guys, I don't know if they're playing for $1 million. That's why, but you can't go much more than that. You can't go crazy. You got to make it, a realistic amount. But this is the problem with contracts where we're at and across all sports right now. Is there's so much money funneling in that $1 million is seemingly worthless to these athletes nowadays, which is insane to think about.
yeah. Now, if you put them up against their own teammate, I think they would all just want to just absolutely kill the other guy. But
Those egos would be where it gets fascinating because if you
yeah,
get some player, because the players are going to want to lose a 1v1. That I do think that, but again, if you're going to have agents and your team telling you in your ear, don't do anything stupid, you're going to play a little bit different.
right, for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot that they could add. There's a lot they could do to make it better, but obviously, incentives is probably the biggest issue for it, rather than get the trophy.
Yep,
Yip de do.
definitely.
But I don't know. I mean,
Well, last thing I want to touch on is like when you look at like the NBA Cup, You know, at first a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is stupid," whatever. But like the past couple of years that they've done it, when you see the interviews of people like the winners, and they say like they talk about what this meant to them. A lot of them are like, "Yeah, we're getting paid." You know what I mean? Like I forget how much it was. I think it's like I think it's like $500,000 or something, which obviously isn't like to some players, like you said, Nathan, it's not that much, but for the other players on the team who may not be signed to these crazy contracts, $500,000 is a lot. So
For 10 through
then
13, that's life changing money. For 10 through
yeah,
13,
exactly.
they want that 500 grand or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, the NBA Cup has an incentive behind it. So, you're fighting for more than just a trophy. And if they incorporate something similar to that into the All-Star games and everything, I think we'd see a lot more outcome from it. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I mean, it's in a perfect world, so
Exactly.
yeah, so many things that could change or not. But I mean, that's pretty much all we have for the NBA.
Yep.
So that
Pretty good.
I guess that kind of wraps up the show for today, Nathan. We appreciate you coming on
Yes,
here.
thank you.
And
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on.
you're an MJ guy, right?
MJ over LeBron? Hell yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're going to have you on another podcast someday to
Hey,
debate
6
you
rings.
for
That's all I
that.
got to talk about. 6 rings.
Yeah. Hey, Bill Russell has 11.
Yep.
We'll talk about
LeBron would have won 8 if he had Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, but we don't got to talk about that.
He also had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Kyrie Irving. So.
Yeah, but LeBron, the teams he has lost to have been like the greatest teams of all time. But hey, we'll get into that in another episode.
John Stockton. I don't know about those Jazz.
I don't know.
Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Iguodala. Like, I gotta keep going.
Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. I don't know. We'll have to have this conversation on another podcast someday for sure.
We will.
But we appreciate you coming in.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, you have a good day.
You as well. Appreciate it.
Yep. See you guys later.
See you.